I hear a lot of people saying the blues, but I'm gonna tell you what the blues is. When you ain't
Hello
got
and
no
welcome back to another episode of Melbourne Musify.
And I'm your host, Joe Ambient.
And I'm Ruby Winters. And today we've got an extra special episode for you all. It is our first interview with an Australian musician.
As our first guest on the show, we are so happy to welcome Giles Robinson. Giles is a 22 young man who is from New South Wales, Australia. He is a singer, songwriter who plays many different instruments and use the loop pedal in a lot of his music. Over the past 10 years, Giles has been performing at many local live events in New South Wales. He plays his original songs and also performs cover songs. And you can connect with him on his Facebook account, Giles Robinson, and on his website, www.gilesrobinsonmusic.com.
Thank you so much, Giles, for coming on to our podcast. It's lovely to have you. And Joe, if you would like to begin with the first question, we can go from there.
Here goes. So, first question. What first got you into music?
The first thing I suppose that got me into music, I do remember when I was younger, going to bed most nights, Dad would sing to me in bed, and we'd also often listen to music and whatnot before I go to bed each night. I suppose maybe that was the first thing I can remember getting into it. But yes, I definitely remember all throughout school and whatnot, always being the very loud person singing who didn't really care what other people thought too much. So yes, I always loved singing. But I suppose the time that I kind of really started to get into it was, I suppose two things happened at the same time. I was with my cousin, and she played guitar and sang a song called Jet Plane by Angus and Joey Stone. And I thought it sounded so amazing. I was like, oh, I really want to be able to do that. And then around the same time, I also saw my friend perform in, I think it was the Year 5 talent show. He played Wonderwall behind his head. And I thought it was a very impressive, cool thing. And I'm like, oh, I got to learn to do that. And so I got my friend to teach me Smoke on the Water on guitar. And so I was kind of hooked from there. And yeah, haven't really stopped playing since.
And
That's awesome.
wow.
Great introduction to into music and figuring out that that's a passion of yours that you wanted to pursue. That's awesome.
How did you learn to write songs?
I didn't sit down and try to learn how to write songs or anything. I think the main thing was just taking in a lot of influences. I did a lot of busking when I was younger. And so to busk, you have to, have a bunch of songs to play. And so I learned a lot of songs and did a lot of playing. And I think that was just taking in my influences and kind of subconsciously knowing what works well. And after I did that a lot, then I'd kind of just tinker around and, I guess some gradual things, like songs just started slowly coming out after a couple of years of playing.
I guess, that's the beautiful part about it. In a sense, it's kind of just a journey and a flow that happens, right? And you eventuate to having created something beautiful.
How would you describe your creative process?
I always kind of start. I never sit down to write a song. I always start where I'm just tinkering around on like guitar or piano, or I'm just scatting and just saying a bunch of random melodies or something, and then something will come into my head, and I'll be like, oh, like that sounds cool, and then I'll keep going with it, and then I use a loop pedal, so I might loop it, and then try singing some things over the top, and then if I think, oh, like that sounds cool, then I'll stick to that and just try playing some drums or keyboard or different melodic or harmonic ideas and whatnot on the top. But yeah, I most of the time when I'm writing, I'm not sure if a state of flow is the right way to describe it, but I definitely feel very different to the vast majority of the time. I feel very in the moment and like notice every second, and it's a very, very good feeling. It's kind of very energetic and kind of electric, and yeah, I very much love that feeling and don't get it through many other things. So I feel like when I get that, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good, I think. So yeah, that's my creative process of how I write songs. But yeah, it's a very enjoyable kind of addictive feeling and process.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So during your music career?
So during your music career, have there been any particular artists that inspire you?
Yep. There's lots of different artists and genres and everything. Not limited to one thing. Like I listen to folk, to pop, to blues, to country. Recently been introduced to country. I was at Bravewood for the weekend after a quick holiday, and went to the pub there, and there was a country singer. And prior to that, I kind of stayed away from it, but I don't know, I thought it sounded pretty awesome. So since then, I've been looking at a lot of that. But yeah, so I wouldn't say there's one particular one. I definitely like artists and songs that have meaningful lyrics. Like it could be Tracy Chapman or maybe like Archie Roach or Dean Lewis or some things like that. If there was one particular artist, I'd probably say Ed Sheeran. When I was younger, I used to like binge watch his live performances because he's very talented. Kind of him and other artists like Tash Sultana using the loop pedal. That's kind of where I got into looping because I thought it looked pretty amazing and thought I wanted to do that. But yeah, I'd say Ed Sheeran would probably be my biggest influence. Yeah, he's very talented, and yeah, I like his songs, and so kind of would try to replicate that. But like whenever I'm at live shows or listening to music, I'm always trying to like pick apart what they're doing and try to find some things that I think that I like that they're doing that I might not be doing, and then try to incorporate that.
Wow.
You really like Ed Sheeran as well, don't you?
Of course, even
Yeah, nice.
yeah.
What's one of your favourite Ed Sheeran songs?
Photograph.
Yeah, I love that one. Have you been listening to his new album that he just released, Subtract?
Yeah, I did, and one of my favorite songs of his, which is Eyes Closed.
Yeah, nice. Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, he's got lots of good songs. He never has a bad one.
You play guitar and keyboard wonderfully. Are there any other instruments that you play?
Thank you. I play ukulele, if that counts. The main other instrument I played would be drums. I learned drums, I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago. It's probably the most recent instrument that I've learned. And it's not really something that you can like play by yourself. Like you can play piano or guitar or whatnot, but you kind of, drums is kind of more of an accompaniment thing. But yeah, I absolutely love drums. I reckon some of the most fun I've ever had has been playing drums to songs that I like. Yeah, it's so much fun. I absolutely love it. I don't do it so much these days. It's it's an easy way to make enemies. Very noisy. Yeah, so I also play drums, which helped a lot because prior to learning drums, I was kind of just, melodic and harmonic ideas, not really much rhythmic stuff. And it's really noticeable, like if you're playing a gig and you're just doing, I don't know, guitar and singing or whatever, as soon as you put a beat down, then it makes a huge difference and everyone will kind of perk up and listen and might start bopping along and whatnot. My first loop pedal I used was an RC30, and I remember it's very distinct to be, I'd loop a beat on the guitar and then would play over the top, and as soon as I put that beat on, then everyone would start listening, and I was like, realized that made a big difference. But yeah, learning drums has been very useful. The first EP I wrote was called Me and Amy. Amy's the name of my guitar, and all of the sounds on the album were pretty much just me singing or me like playing guitar. Now what I've been doing is because I know have learnt keyboard and drums since, I'm able to do a lot more things with the music and make it sound a lot more full and whole, which is a lot of fun. They're the only instruments I know, but some other things are kind of instruments, like the loop pedal that I use. That was like learning a whole instrument on its own. I reckon for the first 2 or 3 years of using the loop pedal, there was never a gig that I played where something didn't go wrong. Things always went wrong with it. And it kind of keeps it interesting because if you play the same songs all the time, it can get a bit monotonous. So throwing a loop pedal in there to add the nerves of potentially being able to make detrimental effects, like mistakes, keeps it interesting. But yeah, just things like the timing, pressing the record button and then stop button and play back, like so often to be out of sync. I've recently got a new loop pedal, the Boss RC600, and it's quite a new loop pedal, so it's got a few glitches, but I've been kind of started that learning process again for that one, and have been making a lot of mistakes. I was playing a gig about a month ago, and a lot of people had requested the song Sweet Home Alabama, and so I started looping it, and everyone was getting into it and they were all dancing, and then just as I finished the loop and was about to start singing, the loop pedal stopped working and said system failure, so I had to turn it off and on again in the middle of the thing. So so there's lots of things that can go wrong. It's I feel like I've picked the most complicated thing that I can do, because I've got like a drum pad and a keyboard and a guitar and the loop pedal. There's so many leads, like if this lead is at this certain angle, then the music will stop working, or just so many things to go wrong. So adding the loop pedal in added another level on top of that, and so yeah, it took a lot of getting used to. Yeah, I've been learning Logic recently. I mainly do like live stuff, so recording things, especially like recording a full, like all the different instruments is quite new to me, and I'm not very good at it. So I've been trying to do that a lot recently, which is good. It's kind of like learning another instrument also. So yeah, just trying to learn as much about that at the moment. But yeah, it's all a very fun process, learning instruments. Yeah, very enjoyable, and that's the main thing. Got to keep it fun. As soon as you're not doing it for fun, then it's not worth doing.
Right, so true.
Yeah.
And practice makes perfect, I guess, right? You know, the more that you do it, the better you get at it, obviously, minus the random technical difficulties. But I know, Joe, when you finish piano lessons, you know, you've always got feedback about, you know, needing to just practice a little bit more on like your technique, and especially like with learning new songs and things like that. That's always been your feedback to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found that like you'll first see a song and you'll know how to play it, but it just takes so long, and you have to think about it so much, and then once you've practiced it a lot, then you just don't even have to think about it at all. Like, have you experienced that also?
Have you got songs like that you did practice a lot, but then now you don't really need to? It's there, like that. Confidence in playing it is there. I think you might have that with some Missy Higgins songs.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
What Missy Higgins songs?
Steer.
Yeah, Steer. That's great.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. We could do a duet with that one. You play guitar, you could play piano with that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's nice.
Oh, that would be so lovely.
Yeah, they will be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very cool, isn't it? Because when you first look at it, and you're like, oh, I can't believe how you can do so many things at the same time so quickly, and then once you've exactly practiced it a lot, then yeah, you don't even have to think about it. So it's pretty cool how your brain works.
Just comes naturally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just there. Yeah, not comes naturally. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that,
No,
to discredit all the hard work. But
I would say is challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very challenging. I don't know, it's probably really good for your brain, learning new instruments and new songs, because you really have to focus. But yeah, you're right. It is quite challenging.
And also, you have performed at concerts, parties, weddings, restaurants, and other events in New South Wales for the past 10 years. How does it feel like when you're performing in front of people?
It's a very good feeling. When everyone's singing along and dancing, it's you feel like you're on top of the world. It's an absolutely amazing feeling. You very much feed off the energy of the crowd, and how much they're enjoying it makes you enjoy it a lot more. The opposite's true a bit. Like I played a lot of kind of background music gigs, and at the start, I think I might have found it a bit disheartening, because it'd be like, oh, I've put so much effort into learning this, and people aren't responding to whether they like it or whatnot. But I think realized early that that's just the gig, and that's just the environment that it's in. And so now just use that for practicing new content, or figuring out how to use my lip pedal so that it doesn't break, and just getting smoother with how I don't know, lip drums and then keyboard and sing and whatnot. So that makes me play better when it is in front of a crowd, and it's like kind of a more of a concert thing. But that's still good fun. It's nerve-wracking. I think whenever I'm worried about something, I kind of always say to myself, oh, because you're worried about it, that means you have to do it because you're worried about it. So that means that, like, I don't know, there's some work that you can do here. I think at the start, I was probably a fair bit more nervous, and then as you do it more, you definitely get less and less nervous. I think for really big gigs that I've played before, like in front of a lot of people, for some reason I haven't found them so nerve-wracking. I find that the small intimate ones, where like I've played gigs to 2 people before, and things like that, or more intimate gigs, I find a lot more nerve-wracking.
Out of all of the songs you have written and recorded, do you have a favorite?
My favorite constantly changes. It's normally one that I've written recently. So yes, I've had many favorites that have constantly changed. Um, I think some songs are better in different circumstances. So some songs I think have got better lyrics. Some songs are really good in an environment where people want to dance and really kind of uplifting and boppy. Some kind of just, I don't know, the music I think like sounds quite nice. Like they all have their different characteristics and pros and cons. But yeah, at least all of the songs over the past few years and whatnot that have been my favorites. I haven't released most of them yet. I'm trying to get my head around Logic. My first EP that I recorded, I did it at a recording studio for half of it, and it was good. Like I learned a bunch from it. It's a bit expensive, and the main thing though was that I felt like I wasn't really able to be creative with it. Like I wasn't able to really try things at the time because I was trying to do it under like a time constraint. Whereas if I'm doing it myself, like on Logic, which is just like our GarageBand, I can play around with a lot of different things and try different things and come up with something that I like, which I probably wouldn't live in that setting. So yes, most of the songs that are my favorites I haven't released yet, but yes, I've been working on them a lot recently and trying to get my head around Logic and yeah, hopefully they'll be out soon.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, that's really cool. A lot to look forward to.
And what is your favorite part about being a musician?
My favorite part about being a musician, I think there's a couple things. I think it's very fun playing in front of a crowd. That's a very cool feeling. Also, the fact that you can like stop the music whenever you want or do whatever you want, whatever you feel like. That's a good feeling. I think maybe I think quite a cool thing about being a musician is that you can create something that hasn't been made before and wouldn't have ever been made if you hadn't have done it. Like music can be described by math. Like you can use fractions and whatnot, and you can use frequencies of waves, and if the nodes of those waves line up, they sound nice together and things like that. And if that all of that was lost, someone would still come up with that independently of you. So the unique thing I think about music is that no one's come up with it before, like a song or whatever. And if you had have never came up with it, no one would ever come up with it. So I think it's quite a cool thing about being a musician that you can come up with something that is completely from you, and if you didn't make it, then it never would have come into existence.
It's that unique expression, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
As a young artist, you have accomplished so much in your life already. May I ask how old you are?
Thank you. That's very sweet. I actually forget very often how old I am. The last few weeks I've been telling everyone that I'm 23, but I realized a couple of days ago that I'm not. I'm actually 22. So yes, I'm 22. But you would get a more accurate answer from my family.
Wow.
That's cool. And how old are you, Joe? Because I think you're a very similar age.
Yeah. Right now I'm 23.
Cool.
Nice.
Do you have any plans to come to Melbourne and perform?
Melbourne has a very cool music scene, so I'm sure I'll definitely be down there sometime in the future. I did come down there, I think maybe 8 years ago, for about a week and did a bunch of busking there.
Cool.
It's a very cool
History.
busking scene there. I had a lot of fun doing it, and saw lots of very talented street performers. It's quite a good music scene down there. So yes, I'm sure. I don't have anything booked in at the moment, but I'm sure I'll be down there at some point in the future.
Wow.
Awesome.
And last question. What's the first song you posted on social media, and what was the response you got?
The first song I posted on social media was a Ed Sheeran song. It was one of his early ones called Gold Rush. And the response, I think I was secretly expecting to wake up the next morning and have 100,000 views, but that's not what happened. I think it got like a few hundred views or something, and I think I was intently watching it the whole time. But I think I've figured out that kind of that's a bit out of your control, and basing how happy you are of something that's out of your control doesn't leave you end up being very happy a lot of the time. So I don't know, at least the past few years I haven't really been so like it's still cool if something does well and it gets a bunch of views or streams and whatever, but I'm not as much concerned about that anymore, and more so just concerned about making something that I like and that I wanted to make and that I'm proud of, rather than so much the response that it gets. But yeah, that was quite cool. I've done a bunch of videos and things since on my YouTube channel, and yeah, I probably look back to the first ones and cringe quite hard. I've been thinking, should I take down some of them, because I cringe pretty hard when I watch them.
It's the all learning though, right? Like the progression, and in a way, yeah. Like I totally get what you mean. I look at some old stuff, videos or photos, and I'm like, oh my god. But you know, that was you in that moment in time, and it's special in its own way, and part of your journey, right? So yeah, totally get that. There's a lot of wisdom as well behind what you said about having the focus on what you're creating, being not about, you know, the response or the views or something that's out of your control, and having, you know, the focus more on you liking it, and like you know, I'm really bad at kind of articulating that. What you just said was really good, and there's a lot of wisdom behind that. So yeah, it's you can tell that you love what you do.
Yes, and I think when you are focusing more on that response and how well it does, then it kind of does suck the fun away from it a bit, and it's not something you're doing for your own enjoyment. It's something that you're doing to get attention or whatever, and so yeah, and that's something that's out of your control. So yeah, just worry about what you can control, and I don't know, you'll be happier with yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, and if it's meant to be, it'll be, right? Yeah. Love that. All right, well, it's been lovely to talk with you. Thank you so much for coming on to our podcast and meeting with us and sharing all of your like your story and all the wisdoms that you've shared. It's really remarkable for someone so young. So you know, you clearly have such a bright future ahead of you, and we're so excited to you know, hear your new music when you're ready to release it, and be part of that journey. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joe Ambient. Thanks, Ruby Winters. Yeah, it's been great being on. Yeah, good luck with the podcast, and yeah, enjoy it as you go.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Cool. Great to meet you guys.
You too.
I'm sure I'll hear from you again sometime in the future.
We'll definitely be in touch, and yeah, thank you again so much. That's really awesome. Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cool.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.